So at the Fontana firm, we deal in employment discrimination, and a lot of times people will call our office and they know that something has gone wrong, but they can't quite put their finger on the right term to call it. And so a lot of times people will call our office and say, "I've been harassed," and actually they haven't been harassed. They've been discriminated against, or they think they've been retaliated against, but they haven't been retaliated against. They've been discriminated against. And so I wanted to do just a little video to kind of give you guys an understanding of the differences between discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. If you understand the differences, it can be quite clear, but for most people, no one, you don't go to work thinking that someone's going to do something to you, and you don't have the real terms necessary to convey that. So I want to talk to you first about what discrimination is. Discrimination is treating one person differently because of their being a part of a protected class. Well, what's a protected class? A protected class are the people who have been protected by a particular statute. Okay. And most everyone will fall in one or more protected classes, but we have to tie a discrimination to that membership in that protected class. So there's a protected class for race. Now, that protected class for race includes people of all races. So it is just as illegal for me to discriminate against a person who is Asian as it is to discriminate against a person who is Black, as it is to discriminate against a person who is white. Any treatment of one person of a person of one class that is worse from a person who is of a different class is going to be discrimination. Doesn't matter which race you fall under, you can be discriminated against. Okay, so discrimination usually talks about disparate treatment, treating one person worse than other people based on a protected class. So protected classes that we can do something about in our office are race, sex, national origin, religion, disability, age. We can do things about participation in your military training, for taking medical leave. But those are the broad categories. There is no protected class for a person whose employer decides they don't like you. The employer has a right to kind of keep people around that they like and let go of people that they don't like. But unless we can tie some adverse employment action, an action taken against you, to one of those protected classes, we cannot sue under that. So if you just have a longstanding dispute with your manager and you get the bad end of that, that's not something we can help you with. But we may be able to figure out some things that you aren't aware of. Maybe there's some problems with the way you were paid that we can help you with. Maybe you have some information that could make you a whistleblower under some other statutes. But by and large, if you can't tie the negative action against you to your race, your sex, your age, your gender, your disability, or you're taking leave, you're going to have a hard time proving discrimination. So again, discrimination is when one person uses your race or your sex, your age, your national origin, your religion against you when they're making decisions. Okay. Now, harassment, a lot of times people will think they're being harassed because of the way that people discriminate against them. So harassment is somewhat different. Harassment is when they subject you to a course of conduct based on your participation or your membership in a protected class that is harassing. And it has to be severe or pervasive. Okay. So in a harassment situation, you would have a coworker or a manager who might be calling you racial slurs, who might be touching you inappropriately, who might be making your life difficult by popping up at your house, asking you to go out, asking you inappropriate questions about your sex life, putting nooses in your workspace, putting uh, you know, uh, you know, nude pictures in your workspace. It has to be a very severe set of circumstances where someone is really kind of bullying you based on your participation in the protected class. Again, this person has to be doing this, or these people have to be doing it based on your participation in the protected class. So that means they're calling you, a racial slur. It's about your race. It's about your sex. It's not about them just not liking you. So, and the other key about harassment is that most times the employer needs to be put on notice that something has been going wrong in order for you to recover. So if you are in a discrimination context, you don't have to report the discrimination necessarily for it to be discrimination. But in a lot of cases, when there's harassment, you do have to report that you believe you've been harassed, particularly if the person who is harassing you is not a manager and is not taking action that can affect your employment. So if you have a coworker who is chasing you around the building and using racial slurs and putting, negative, gross pictures in your workstation, and, kind of just, really being an ogre or a bore, you got to go to HR and report that most times. So that is harassment. Harassment is not counseling you for your poor performance because they want to get rid of you because you're Black or white or a woman. It is really kind of just general harassment is really much more about a course of conduct where someone is treating you poorly because of your race. And usually you're looking for something pretty severe, touchings, people every day coming in and saying something about your race, or saying something about your sex, or asking you out on dates, or putting you in uncomfortable positions every day. It is much more about a course of conduct than it is about a one-time event. Okay. Now, what about retaliation? Well, in order to be retaliated against, you have to have complained. So retaliation is disparate treatment or discrimination that's based on you reporting some other illegal conduct. Okay, so if a person comes in and says, I believe that I have been discriminated against because I am a woman, and after that, within, say, about 3 months of that, the employer fires them for reasons that are suspicious, and that, you had a stellar work ethic, everything was great until you complained, and then all of a sudden you were terminated. Okay. That's going to be a retaliation case. Okay. But you have to have complained about one of the things that are covered. There is no general retaliation case. So say you told on your employer because they were just a bad employer. The manager just didn't know how to do their job. You go to HR and say, hey, this guy's not cool. I don't like him. I think he could do his job better. And that person then looks at you as a threat and then tries to fire you. That's not retaliation. At least it's not illegal retaliation. But if you went to your employer and said, I believe that I was discriminated against by my manager based on my race, based on my sex, based on my disability, based on my age, and then 3 months after that, within 3 months, they take action against you where they fire you, demote you, then that's retaliation. But it has to be based on one of the protected categories that we discussed: age, race, national origin, sex. You have to have that underlying belief that they have discriminated against you, that you have conveyed to a person in management, and then you can use that as the basis for a retaliation claim. My employer just doesn't like me is not a retaliation claim. It could be unfair, it could be wrong, but it may not be actionable. So you want to look at what it means to be retaliated against in conjunction with prior conduct that you took where you explained to your manager or a person who could make a difference, like in HR, that explained why you felt like you were being discriminated against. If you don't have that first complaint, you're probably not going to have a retaliation claim. Okay. And it's not enough to say, well, everybody knew about it. And so there has to have been, they knew, so it's definitely retaliation. You have to make a specific complaint. Now, we can do a lot to help you figure out whether it's retaliation, harassment, or discrimination in our office. If you call us, this is all done by a case-by-case basis. So you have to call us to find out if we think you can make a claim for harassment, retaliation, or discrimination. You can call us in our office at 205-564-9005, or you can reach us on the web at KyraBontanno.com. Thanks.